for this gathering to talk about the pros and cons of our proposed county charter, as I'm sure everybody here is aware. My name is Ted Fitzgerald. I'm going to be acting as the moderator. I am a local attorney, and I'm also a court manager. I'm a disinterested third party in this, so I promise not to give you any of my many opinions. And if I start, stop me. Anyway, I wanted to thank SWAC for making this available to the group, and I'd like to introduce Janet Preddy, Executive Dean of Curry Campus SWAC, so you can say a few things.
Hi, welcome to the Curry Campus. I hope this is not your first time here, but if it is, please feel free to walk around and enjoy the campus after the event. For clarification, I've been asked to read the following statement. When the Citizens Home Rule Charter for the Curry County Committee's 3C PAC requested use of the Curry campus for a forum or debate on ballot measure 8-76, their request was forwarded to Southwestern's Associated Student Government. Per our policy, that policy states, college facilities may be used by individuals or groups for political purposes and campaigns so long as the individual organization is sponsored by the Associated Student Government. That is how we comply with the law, because we cannot take a position on any political measure. So Mary Jo Jacobs has been great and working she's our Curry representative to the student government, and she has been working hard to make this event possible. All political and partisan groups shall have the same opportunities to use the college facilities in accordance to the requirements of this procedure. ASG agreed to host the event, and because it is a very important topic to our Curry citizens, both ASG and the college are neutral on the subject. I need to make that very clear. We would ask that this would be a civil and informative discussion. We cannot advocate a position while in this room. This is educational in nature. So I thank you for coming and complying. This needs to be civil and educational, because we all need to learn and more about this topic. So thank you for coming. I look forward to seeing the discussion. Thank you.
Oh. That's it. Thank you. All right, let's see. We'd like to acknowledge a few of the people that are in our either on our panel or in our audience today. I know that we've got several commissioners up here. We can introduce them as we go along separately, but I do see that we've got Commissioner David Brock Smith out in the audience. I see a candidate for public office, Jim Relaford. He's running for county commissioner himself. Do we have any others?
I'm running for District 1 House of Representatives.
Oh,
Jim Clark.
Jim Clark? Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, then, I will talk a little bit. Let's see. The event's sponsored by the Curry Citizens Charter Political Action Committee, and they would like to acknowledge Carl King, the chair of that committee, for all of his hard work to get us here today. Let's see. Listed on my list for the person to lead off the discussion is Gary Milliman, 2012 ICMA Career Excellence Award recipient, 41 years in city management, 2006 National Public Service Award for his leadership in the recovery of the city of Southgate from a period of political corruption and mismanagement. Also, he has served as Southern California Director of League of California Cities, a city council member, and a non-manager city. Gary has a Master of Public Administration degree from the University of Southern California. Previously, he's taught political science at Southwestern Oregon Community College, one of a number of volunteer community builders throughout the county who serve on the Curry Citizens Charter Political Action Committee. So, Gary, if you'd like to begin.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate everyone attending today. As was mentioned, I'm the city manager here in Brookings. I was asked to assemble a panel for a forum today, not a debate. to talk about the council manager plan as it applies to cities and counties. So I've been fortunate to be able to attract what I consider to be an outstanding panel of people who are experienced in this topic, some of whom have traveled a considerable distance to be here today. And I'd like to just, I know you have the bios, Ted, but I'd just like to briefly introduce those who came to participate in the panel discussion, including Aaron Kubik, the city manager from Grants Pass, who previously worked for, I believe, Douglas County. Dan Bartlett, the retired city manager from Astoria, previously served as the county administrator in Benton County. Ron Hiddensgard, our mayor here in Brookings. Jay Serena, the county administrative officer in Del Norte County, California. And Julie Hemmingston, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors in Del Norte County. Del Norte is the nearest county to Curry that has this form of government. So thank all of you for responding to my invitation on coming. We're going to be talking briefly, each of us, about our experience in the council manager, commission administrator form of government. If there are questions at the end of that time about that topic, we're perfectly interested in responding to those. If there are questions about other aspects of the charter proposal, those questions should be held for another venue. This group is not here to endorse the charter, but provide information about the council manager, commission administrator form of government. And I appreciate also seeing some members of the county commissioners appointed committee on the charter here as well. So first, a little bit about my experience. I've been in city government for 41 years. When I first became a city manager in Fort Bragg, California at the age of 28, I had a lot to learn. And my major mentor in that learning experience was a county administrator in Mendocino County by the name of Al Beltrami, known lovingly by us all as Beltrami. He and I developed a good working relationship between the city, me as the city manager, he as the county administrator, over the course of some 20 years. I learned a lot about county government, the techniques that he used in managing a county operation there in Mendocino County, which has a population of around 70,000, and working cooperatively together with all four of the cities in that county. I also had an opportunity through my work with the League of California Cities to develop working relationships with the California Supervisors Association and working with county administrators on that side of the business in pursuing matters of joint interest and concern and in developing intergovernmental agreements between cities and counties to undertake projects such as shared animal control systems and other mechanisms of providing service. I served as a city council member in a non-managing city. I was one of 5 commissioners in that city. And I can tell you that that was a negative experience in local government, where I, as a commissioner, with no support from a city manager or any...
About a 24-year period. So I've had the opportunity to see a number of administrators, some that were extremely experienced when they came in and others that adapted to the position. My responsibility on a daily basis, I don't deal specifically with every department in the county as an administrator on a daily basis, but we act as the liaison, as Gary had mentioned, his role in a non-administrator county, we actually act as the liaison with all of the departments. In my situation, I'm also responsible for about 11 different departments and divisions. Many of those that interact directly with all of the other departments. So if there's a problem, because I'm responsible for the budget and I'm responsible for risk management or insurance and also personnel, they all come through my office. The Board of Supervisors expect me to take care of those problems as they come up. And when they become a problem that can't be dealt with at that level, it's discussed in the public forum with the supervisors, and ultimately they'll give direction on solving that problem. The relationship that I have with our board is such that they make policy. That's their responsibility. They've listened to their constituents, and they ultimately make policy. My job is to make sure that that policy is followed by our departments, it's understood by our departments, and that we don't deviate from that policy. We are very clear as department heads that we're not the ones that set those goals or dictate what's going to happen for Del Mar County. Our job is to do the job. And my relationship with the board that I've had for the last 10 years, even as the assistant CAO, has been one of transparency, respect, and ultimately trust. If you don't have that in that group, then you're going to have some difficulties, and the administrator, in my humble opinion, shouldn't be there. And, you know, like I mentioned, we're following the lead of the people who are elected. And there are issues that come up constantly that have to be dealt with that our supervisors expect us to deal with. And they expect that, they trust that, and they trust the department heads that they hire and pay to deal with it. On a daily basis, I'll have conversations primarily with Supervisor Hemmingson. He's very active in calling me and asking me to assist him in whatever ways he needs assistance. And our individual supervisors don't have staff. And we don't act as staff to an individual. We act as staff and assistants to the entire Board of Supervisors. But we do our best to make sure that our supervisors individually are successful also. Because if they can be successful individually in dealing with their constituents, our board can be successful. And so I see it as a very, very much a team effort. And would like to hear what Jerry has to say on his end. You know, I believe we're successful at it. I can't stress enough the need to have somebody in these positions that have the trust of the public and integrity. If you lose that, you're going to have difficulties. And that comes with being as transparent as possible. There are certain things that we do that legally our counsel will tell us you can't speak about that, you can't have discussions about that in the public forum, and we have to respect that. But I can tell you in my job description, the number one duty that I have in my job description that I have to adhere to is to make our supervisors accessible to the public. And we take that very seriously, and they take it very seriously. If a member of the public comes in, even if they're in opposition to their policies, they will listen to them. And believe it or not, in Del Mar County, we have some issues, and we have them going right now, and they are very political issues. But again, a level of respect with each side goes a long way.
You want me to say something? You know, I've had the opportunity, Jay has been in administration since I was elected as a supervisor. So the styles of the CAOs may change a little bit, but the job doesn't. So I've had two different CAOs to work with, and both of them have different styles, but the end result ends up being the same. You still, the CAO basically is our go-to person. As Jay mentioned, we don't have staff. We don't have somebody that can do the running around and the stuff. We're directly involved with the people as a supervisor. And in order to get the information that we need to have, our go-to guy is Jay in this particular case. The CAO is our go-to guy. Now, we can deal directly with department heads to a certain level, but we act as a board. We're not individuals. We can't be dictating to the department heads on what they need to be doing or what they need not to be doing. We do that as a board. We set the policy, and then through our liaison, which is in this particular case is Jay, he makes sure that we don't overstep our bounds. We work closely with county council. We work closely with the CAO. I think it's been very successful, but on the other hand, it's the only system that I've ever dealt with. So it makes it real easy for me to say, yeah, this system works. There's a lot of checks and balances. California has a lot of rules. We have the Brown Act. We can't be discussing policy with more than one supervisor. And that doesn't mean one supervisor at a time. That means only one supervisor. So we can't be discussing in a quorum policy on what we're going to be doing. So if we want to have a discussion with one other supervisor, we can do that. But involving any more than one, that's a violation. We can't be doing that. The transparency needs to be there. We don't want to be viewed as colluding, as stacking the deck before we get to the board meetings. So there's a lot of rules and regulations. FPPC, which is the Fair Political Practices Commission, make sure that we follow those guidelines. Jay's very good at keeping us in line and direction, making sure that we don't overstep our bounds on what we do, because we don't micromanage. We don't have any power, and I'm just using that word. I don't think as individuals we don't have power over anybody. As a collective board, we do. But we only have the power of the board. Only has that policy for the department heads. Anybody under those department heads are managed by those department heads. I don't know how much farther you want me to go or not want to go, but
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to hand the microphone down to Dan Bartlett. Dan is the retired city manager from Astoria. He is also the former county administrator from Benton County. Retired city manager from Astoria and previous county administrator from Benton County. So he's worked in both cities and counties. Currently serving as a volunteer affiliate with the International City Management Association. I'll ask him to describe that a little more. But has considerable experience in both cities and counties, and has a kind of a dual perspective that he can share. And thank you.
Okay, so you do have in your seats a letter from Steve Bryant, who is our state senior advisor. I think the main thing I can give with this is that in having professional managers, you have a support mechanism that backs them up. And I learned that early on. I started in Benton County in the social service area, and then moved into finance, and then eventually became the county administrative officer. But for the majority of my career there, I was a budget officer. I didn't have a lot of support when I first started because there was no professional association of budget officers. There was no professional association of social service planners in the county. As I got advanced and got more responsibility and promoted in the county to Central Services Director and then into the Commissioner's office, I found that there was a National Association of County Administrators group that was formed in the 1970s, and there was a chapter in Oregon, and that was a godsend because then we could get together as professional managers and learn about the problems we were all having. And then, as what happens in those groups that form, the International City County Management Association used to be just the International City Managers Association, and it's existed for 100 years. But they decided that county management and city management were pretty much the same, so there is still a National Association of County Administrators, but they're supported by the International City County Management Association, and many of us are members of both. My role in the state is what they call a range rider. As Gary said, I'm retired. I've been retired for 10 years now. But for most of those 10 years, my role has been to meet with managers in my territory. And part of my territory is Astoria to Brookings, which means I get to drive 363 miles and have a good time on a sunny day like this. But part of my role is to drop in and say, how are things going? I don't do studies. I don't do consulting work unless I get dispensation from our state association, and it doesn't conflict with my role to support the manager and make sure that the manager knows what's going on in the profession, what are the current best practices, and also then what can I do to help a manager with information. As you might imagine, our international association has a number of resources available. Our state association is hosted by the Association of Oregon Counties, and so we have resources available, and we also get support from the League of Oregon Cities, and we also get support from the Association of Oregon Counties for county issues. But the key thing is, the role that I found in Benton County was that the commissioners brought me in and said basically their most important job was to represent their citizens and to deal with issues for the county. And one at the time that I was involved, who's currently still dealing with the counties, is the ONC Counties Association. And I worked for a gentleman named Dale Schrock, who was president of the ONC Counties Association. And he told me my main role was to free up the commissioners so he and the other commissioners could be dealing with the ONC Counties issues, dealing with the mental health and community health issues, and I would communicate directly to the department heads what the policies and commissioners meant, so they got it from one face. As I moved into city administration, that same role is even more ingrained because you have more policymakers, and they don't have the time to deal with it. So you also take on a role of doing research and support for policymakers, doing position papers, doing research, and finding out what is the best practices. So I've found over the years that by working with the professional associations and with the government leagues, that I can provide support and help to the elected officials in whatever information they need to make the right decision in the best interest of the citizens.
Thank you, Dan. And then I'm going to move on to Aaron Kubik, who's the city manager in Grants Pass. As I recall, Aaron, you previously worked in Douglas County, not as the county administrator, but had some experience in county government, and perhaps you could also describe your role in the Oregon City and County Managers Association, and talk about what the role of a county administrator, city manager is.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Aaron Kubik. I'm the president of the Oregon City Managers Association. Been in management for about 20 years, and I'm a credentialed city manager through the International City Managers Association. I have worked on county and local city levels. Currently, right now, serving as the city manager of Grants Pass. You know, ultimately, as a city manager, you're hired to serve the council, and council, like you've heard today, council focuses on your long-term vision and where you're going, policies, and we try and implement those policies to make those dreams happen. We work really in partnership with those elected officials and the city council members to develop, or board of commissioners in this situation, to develop sound approaches to those community challenges. We take the training that we received throughout the years and the experience we received throughout the years to help provide that vision also. We, as city manager, one of the things I do is I've always got to look on developing a long-term vision. We may have certain issues that are hot topics throughout the city from one year to another. But one of the things that we're always trying to focus on is strategic planning. That's one of my top priorities as a city manager, is to make sure we have a sound strategic plan. And then associated with that strategic plan is a work plan. Now, I think it's real key that one of the things we're doing is as a city manager, I'm facilitating that strategic plan process and then developing the work plan. I help facilitate the strategic plan process with the city council in this situation. And we're there to help provide them an opportunity to get their dreams on paper, to figure out where we want to go, and then the work plan is directly associated with the strategic plan, and that is basically where the rubber hits the road. How are we going to accomplish those goals? And that's where the city manager or county administrator would come into play, because we deal with the day-to-day operations to make those dreams happen. As a credentialed city manager and as a city manager, one of the things that is also important in our field is ethics. And as a credentialed manager, we really promote ethical government. And city managers across the state and across the nation are there committed to a set of ethical standards. And that's one of the things that's really important, is we try and make sure that the decisions are ethically based and sound and fair for the whole community as a whole. We also have a focus on building consensus, I think, throughout the city when we have issues that come up. One of my objectives also, when we're trying to take a look at policies and implementing policies, is working behind the scenes, helping council achieve their goals by building consensus within the community. And one of the things I think is very important, and it touches on the ethical issues and ethics in general, are organizational values. As a city manager, one of my key focuses is making sure the ship is running well. The council is steering the ship and guiding where that ship goes. I've got to make sure the engine's working well, the kitchen's serving everyone there, got to make sure that everything's working and operating properly. If not everything's going to be efficient. So we try and focus on efficient and effective government. And nowadays, counties have changed from what they've been years ago. There are so many new responsibilities and regulations and requirements that are now on a county. There are so many different items that have to be focused on. It's important that you have someone that can also focus on those issues from a long-range standpoint. But because there's so many issues, there's also so many new departments and service deliveries out there. As a city manager, an organization's health is extremely important to the efficiency of the services you provide. It's very easy to, without a focus on your organizational structure and how it operates, it's very easy to become siloed. And when you have silos within the organization, it ultimately ends up building inefficiencies. And one of my focus points is providing a culture and developing a culture focused on the customer and focused on getting rid of those silos and trying to find and have us look at our processes through the customer's eyes. And many times when you look at a process and the way it focuses with a city or a county organization, it's not just public works. It's just not just Department of Health and Human Services. It flows horizontally, not just vertically. So you have to look at the way that flows, and therein lies the issue of siloed departments versus departments that are focused on your organizational values. And that's one of the key points, I think, for me as a city manager, is to make sure that the organization as a whole is focused on the customer and our processes and working together within those silos to make the best, efficient, vibrant community we can for our city council.
Thanks, Aaron. That's going to bring us back to Brookings. And after a brief discussion about the council manager relationship in Brookings, I wanted to end our part of the panel discussion with a couple of examples of where the system has gone wrong and what had to be done to correct it. So Ron, perhaps you could talk a little bit about our relationship between the city council in Brookings and your city manager and how that works. Take it.
Well,
After listening to all of this, you can imagine my head's just whirring with all kinds of ideas I'd like to talk about. For the sake of brevity and for us to be able to back out, join this day, I left about an hour and a half ago. I was working in the garden, so let's get back to working in the garden again. Keep this brief. This democracy that we have was founded on the idea that we would have representation from within the grassroots of our own community. And we know that at the Washington level, that's gotten skewed. At the state level, that's somewhat skewed. But down on the local level is where we can really engage grassroots politics, grassroots representation, grassroots government. My experience on the city council is now approaching its 8th year. I've been the mayor since 2012. And I can tell you that I am a grassroots citizen of Curry County. My bio is about this big. Lived here since 1966 and grew up in this community, raised my family in this community, and I'm well rooted in this community. I would have never believed that I would have been the mayor of Brookings because of the experience levels, the educations, the ability to work inside of a government situation. I never believed I had that ability. But once I engaged it, a number of citizens asked me to get involved. I took the challenge, became engaged. I found out that it's really quite simple to be a grassroots representative. The staff that we have at the city, including our city manager, handles all of the administrative and government policies. That allows me to do the one thing that I was elected to do, and that's to be a grassroots representative. And I believe we've achieved that. I'd like to see that happen at the county level. We have a very efficient, streamlined government in our city. I believe we could do that again at the county level. We're running out of time. Our own commissioners have talked many times about how we're running off the fiscal cliff. We don't have a lot of time left to adjust and make our government more efficient. This is the time to do it.
Thanks. So a couple of examples of things that can go wrong in this form of government. My wife Carolyn and I are natives of the city of Bell. Ever heard that? In fact, when I was in high school, I was the city administrator for a day in Bell, in the leadership program. And Carolyn was our student body president. So, yesterday, the assistant city manager for the city of Bell was sentenced to 11 years and 8 months in prison for corruption, for for manufacturing a program where she was able to secure a salary of over $500,000 a year, and participating in a corruption scheme involving the city manager and all 5 members of the elected city council. I was happy to see that. The 5 members of the city council and 1 past city council member, they're all now past city council members, are also going to be faced with a decision here in the next week. They were tried on corruption charges in Los Angeles County. There was a hung jury, and they've now been given the choice of either facing retrial or agreeing to 4-year prison terms. What happened in Bell doesn't happen in the 9,000 other cities and counties that have adopted the council manager form of government. But also what happened in Bell is that the citizens of those communities, working through the media, in this case the Los Angeles Times, came together to remove those council members from office, expose the corruption, and assist the district attorney and the attorney general in bringing those people to account for their wrongdoing. City manager has pled guilty to his $1 million a year scheme in a horse racing ranch in Washington State. and he's awaiting sentencing. I hope they all get the maximum. Every member of the International City Management Association is looking forward to them getting the maximum. They put a black eye on our profession, but that's one entity out of thousands across the country and worldwide where things have gone wrong. And it went wrong as a collusion between the city manager and the elected officials in those communities. In 2003, I was working as the Southern California director of the League of California Cities. And I got a phone call from the incoming mayor of the city of Southgate. Southgate is next to Bell, the first Bell. They had just gone through a recall election to remove 3 members of the city council and the elected city treasurer, who was also serving as the assistant city manager. They had developed a scheme that spirited away $39 million in city funds to their buddies and business partners, buying condos and Cabo Sandias and other activities. Again, for the first time, the citizens of that community, Padres Unidos, a group of mothers and fathers from the Latino community, partnered up with the Southgate Police Association and an older group of early citizens to expose the corruption, file private lawsuits, take civil action, and ultimately recall the 3 leaders from the city council, and the treasurer, and hired me the next day as the city manager. It took us about 3 years to restore that city's reputation, its financial well-being, testified in federal court. The assistant city manager / city treasurer was just released from his term in prison 3 weeks ago. Served 7 years of a 20-year sentence. Convicted on 39 counts of forgery and fraud. That's the way it should happen, and that's the way it does happen. These people who enter into these corrupt relationships ultimately find their way behind bars, find their way to ruined lives because they are not upholding the public's trust. They violated the ICMA Code of Ethics. We caught them at it. They didn't do their due diligence in working with their elected officials and appointed officials. The people caught them at it. The city management, the council manager form of government was developed, the vision of the community, and the managers are in charge of carrying out that vision and making it work for the community. So that's what the council manager system's about. That's what the commission administrator system's about. What I do every day is exactly what Jay does. I think Dan Bartlett, maybe I'll ask Dan Bartlett, if you've worked in both as a city manager and a county administrator, is there a big difference?
Not really.
Not really. These gentlemen have taken a position on the charter in Curry County, with the exception of the mayor and myself. We've worked on putting the charter together, but the other members up here have no position on the charter in Curry County. That's a decision for the Curry County residents to make. We're telling you what our experience is in this form of government that is one element of the charter proposal that is on the May ballot. And with that, I'll pass the microphone or
Others, thank you,
pass the
Gary.
conversation back to the moderator.
At this point, now we're going to switch to a couple of other speakers. And then the way I kind of like to proceed is just get everybody down there and then general questions to the entire panel. We can do that? So I'd like to introduce State Representative Wayne Krieger, currently the State Representative for House District 1, which includes Curry, South and Eastern Coos, Southwestern Douglas, and Western Josephine counties. He was elected in 2000. He's currently serving his 14th year in the legislature. He's been chair or vice chair of the House Judiciary Committee in Salem since 2001. Other accomplishments include National Tree Farmer of the Year, Curry County Conservation Farmer of the Year, past member of the Forest Industries Council on Taxation, met in Washington, D.C., member of the National Tree Farm Family Forest Advisory Committee, retired after 27 years at the Oregon State Police Game Enforcement Division. I'm here to tell you, that's the truth. Wayne graduated from OIT, Klamath Falls, and he is an Oregon native.
You didn't, thank you, Tate. He didn't mention any time in my life looking for him. That's 50 years ago, it'll be 50 years June 1 that I came here to state police recruit. 11 mills, and the county was doing well. In fact, all of our southern counties were doing well. And in that 50 years, there's not a county commissioner that I haven't known, and we never had a county administrator. I think there's been some times and issues, but probably would have been real helpful to have one that was out there doing some of their work. In all of the time that I've been in Salem, because you mentioned it, Gary, about corruption, that type of thing. I do not know of a county commissioner other than one that signed his wife's ballot here in Curry County doing anything that I would say was questionable legally or was ever prosecuted or indicted on anything. You should be proud of the fact that Oregon's government, even talk to people from other states, will tell you that at the county state level, it's one of the cleanest areas. I have never been offered a bribe or any type of a scheme or anything else. It just doesn't happen in Salem, and I think that's good, and that helps us do a better job to represent everybody, because those type of people aren't amongst us up there. So regardless of our party affiliation, you got a real clean state government, and we want to keep it that way. I came to the South Coast from Seaside. That was up Classic County, one of the counties you're talking about, and one of my colleagues in Salem now is State Representative Debbie Boone, who has been a county commissioner in Clatsop County. We were right across the street from my old girlfriend out there on the road to Portland. Told her that they talked to her. And I was asking her about the transition that they went through. And she thought, or told me, that the transition was difficult, like in general government, to this other system. But they eventually got through it, and she felt that they got through it because they ended up with a very good county administrator who really helped line out the finances and those type of things. So there's a place where it could be of value. One of the things I have some concern about, because the county commissions themselves are so different. Now, this has to do with how they're paid, which is also has to do with the county administrator. In Salem, I have David Rock Smith was up there, I don't know, a dozen times during 13 and several times during the 14 special session. We have county commissioners come up from all over into our office regarding pieces of legislation, bills concerned, coastal dredging, marine reserves, marine sanctuaries, all those things. They come into our office and visit with us. And they also appear before the Coastal Caucus. And it's not the county administrators that I'm seeing. I don't know if I've ever had one in my office for 14 years, a county administrator. I might have, not realized who he was. But definitely the county commissioners. That means they have to travel. I'm not certain that system we might have here proposed would allow them to do that traveling. Caucus. And it's not the county administrators that I'm seeing. I don't know if I've ever had one in my office for 14 years, a county administrator. I might have, not realized who he was. But definitely the county commissioners. That means they have to travel. I'm not certain that system we might have here proposed would allow them to do that traveling. I would just end it that the system that you have works. the system that you're gonna have will work, but it's not gonna solve your financial problem until we do something about the actual problem of getting back to managing our forests for people and our schools. And that has not been done. Proposals that I've seen come forward aren't gonna help us. And we all realize that if we wanna have vibrant communities, we've gotta have income, we've gotta have some opportunity, and right now, that doesn't happen. So county administrator, that could be good. There's other things that you gotta make sure you've got in balance, because they don't all work the same, they don't all look the same. County commissioner, the county administrator in Jackson County is, I don't know, $175,000, $200,000. You know, a lot of money. And he's got some special car they gave him, he's got a special house allowance. The guy must be good, because they're paying him good. But your county commissioners over there also making around $90,000 a year. So the systems are very different here. You can't compare apples and oranges. So I just think we need to be very careful. The system can work, we just got to make sure that ours will work.
Thank you, Representative Krieger. Our next speaker is County Commissioner David Itzen. David Itzen is completing his first term as Curry County Commissioner. Relevant to today's event, note that on April 1st of this year, David Brock Smith initiated a candidate-controlled committee called Curry County Protect Our Right to Vote Committee. Commissioner Itzen has several career fields, including business and education. Other accomplishments include terms on the local school board, a local bank board, the regional electric board, and the local scholarship foundation. His career in education includes teacher, coach, athletic director, vice principal, and principal. He has a bachelor and master's degree from the University of Oregon. Commissioner Itzen.
Thank you, Ted. One of the great things about living in Curry County is we know each other many times generations over. I'm looking at Mr. Serena there, and I actually went to school in junior high with members of his family many years ago, Smith River. Mr. Hemmingson, Supervisor Hemmingson, I work with him on the Border Coast Airport Authority Board. I see him in other capacities. I know he's got a construction company as well, so our business has utilized their services. And of course, I know the mayor and the city manager as well. I both know them and like them. I respect them. But you need to know I disagree with him on this subject. So, and of course, you know that since I'm one of the people who's organized or working an effort against this measure, that's my point of view. But I would urge everyone to examine the issue in whole. It's a multi-dimensional question. And the trite phrase around Oregon is, if you've seen one county, you've seen one county. My management experience is quite a bit different than several of the people here at this table. I have about 33 years of management in Easterly Farms, large groups of employees, management in the schools, management in a retirement community, altogether about 33 years. So it's more diverse than Mr. Milliman, but still the same principles apply. Mr. Hemmingson talked about public meeting laws and how you can't get together and talk about substantive matters if you're a commissioner. The same rules apply in Curry County. The open meeting laws in Oregon are virtually the same. You don't even dare get together with another commissioner and talk business. I mean, if you were to have 5 or 3, you're not supposed to talk business. What would come in front of the commission in private. The only place that's appropriate is in a public meeting room, in an actual formal session. And that's what we all do. We all observe that. So there's really no difference between states or between counties. The same relationship also exists with us, with our employees. Commissioner Hemmingson, Supervisor Hemmingson talked about the fact that the predominant power is in the boardroom. That's always the case. Whether I did the school board and my service on the Curry Electric Board was for fun. At least it was started out as fun in the beginning. Then we discovered the problems and got a little more serious. But The situation is the same. I'm liaison commissioner to maintenance. I don't tell the maintenance supervisor what to do, but I do work with him closely, and I assist him where possible. We're a team, which is particularly important in Curry County because the maintenance situation in the Curry County government buildings has been dire, to say the least, because of lack of money over the years. I'm also the I've been
These questions here for a second, and then we'll just start asking them. Okay, first question to Del Norte County. It says, there have been many well-publicized and well-known instances of embezzlement and fraud on the part of the city and or county administrators through the years. We're talking about Del Norte County. We're including Del Norte County, even Del Norte, that's what it says. Please address the checks and balances in place with administrators from when there are numerous appointed staff or department heads to ensure the public trust is not violated. How does Del Norte and other entities guarantee that transparency?
The one thing I can say about, there was one significant instance about 15, 20 years ago. The administrator set up his own business, similar to what Milton had talked about earlier, and attempted to have a contract that paid him to provide a product. He was caught. That's the bottom line. And I've had this conversation with a lot of different people in regards to, you hear about embezzlement, you hear about people taking advantage. Number one, people are involved, and that can be a real problem sometimes because not everybody has the ethics, the integrity, or the same morals. The checks and balances that we have in place, all of our funds go through our auditor controller's office. We have independent auditors. We have a treasurer who accounts for all of the cash flow on the treasury side. I'm not going to say it's impossible to do it, but it's very difficult to do it and get away with it. And I have the same opinion as what Gary mentioned earlier. The Bell scandal, absolutely. I don't want to say the death penalty, but something similar to that, because it just puts this black mark on people that don't deserve it, especially those that have dedicated themselves to public service. We have departments, we have people, we have independent auditors that look over our shoulders constantly. And the one that I think is the most key is the public. If the public's not apathetic, nobody can get away with it. I really believe in that. I feel strongly.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, here is there's a couple of questions directly for Commissioner Itzen. But I'll start with one. It says, Commissioner Itzen, if commissioners let department heads make decisions, why was the Veterans Officer told how much money she should apply for?
I don't know that was a fact. I was at the board meeting, the Board of Commissioners meeting, when the advice was given to them to go, my feeling was they should have gone for the maximum, and that they would probably have a better chance in their grant application. It was her recommendation and that of her liaison that they apply for less, which they did, and they were unsuccessful. But I don't think she was ever told. In fact, knowing her as well as I do, I can't see her ever being told anything with any kind of success. A director like that. She's very independent. So.
Okay, here's a question from to Mr. Bartlett and Mr. Serena. Does Benton and Del Norte County have a county administrator and full-time paid county commissioners?
Benton County now has a chief operating officer, and basically that position is transitioned depending upon which group of Board of Commissioners come in.
It's a position created by ordinance, so the functions and duties are established as different commissioners see a need to change that position.
Mr. Serena, did you have a?
Delmarva County has a paid administrator, and I have an assistant administrator along with me that make up the county administrative department. So there's two of us in administration. There are other departments that I'm responsible for. The supervisors are a half-time position. It is paid. And there is a structure in place for increases if you're reelected. But it's considered a half-time position. Reality is it's not a half-time position. There's I think individual supervisors sit on 20-plus committees. I'm sure they're tired of meeting every other day. They sit on those committees, and then they obviously have other responsibilities that are assigned to them through their own meetings as those issues come up.
Thank you. Mr. Kubik, Josephine County has a charter, paid full-time commissioners, and no county administrator. Do you believe Josephine County government is run well in its current structure? And the form of government has nothing to do with the lack of revenue due to the lack of timber dollars? And to eliminate the full-time commissioners who are advocating for those timber dollars would be a mistake? That's quite a question.
Yeah, that's a multifold question. I can tell you that the city and the county have been developing and nurturing a good working relationship over the past couple of years. And it's working well. At the county level, I can't totally speak for how the county is operating. I know that at times when I'm sitting with a board of commissioner and we're discussing an issue, I'm talking to a policymaker, but I'm also talking to someone that's somewhat an administrator of one or two different departments. And I may need to go and talk to another board of commissioner if I want to talk to them with regards to another topic that's under the authority of that board of commissioner when it comes to the liaison of a certain department. So I know that our county is struggling just like a number of other ONC counties, but I guess I can't speak for how they are operating efficiently, whether or not they're operating efficiently. I think we are operating efficiently as a county. Do I think that they may be able to benefit from a council manager form of government? I think that there is merit in that also. And there has been some discussions at the county level and through the city of potentially looking at that as an option also.
Okay, I'm trying to sort through these questions because I'm trying to keep the questions focused on the panel here themselves, and on the issue that's brought us together, which is how this proposed form of government works, and so on. Salary cost of an administrator. I suppose this is it says, what is the population numbers of the city you serve? I'm not sure who this is to. So maybe it's to everybody, but I guess we can just start with.
We'll pass the mic down. My current base salary is $105,000, and I would say that that's probably comparable in Oregon for cities of like size. The city of Brookings has 50 employees. And other cities of like size probably compensate their managers similarly. Not sure how many employees Delaware County has. Does that help?
Okay. Delaware County has 450, give or take, employees on a weekly basis. The base salary of the county administrator starts at $86,000 a year and tops out just over, I think, $130,000 a year. The increases are based on merit. The Board of Supervisors determines whether or not the administrator is doing the job that they are asking them to do. And just, I guess on an aside, if 3 of the supervisors believe that I'm not doing my job on any daily basis, they can call a meeting and tell me to go. So that's generally what compensation range is for Del Mar County. We are doing a comparison for all of California. You don't want to know about Southern California.
Ted, the average, I just looked at the salaries for county administrators in Oregon. The average is roughly 135. They range from Jackson County, close to 200 to less than 100 in some counties. But for example, in our county, when I started out in 2011, we had 200 full-time equivalent employees. Now we have 100 because of all of the organizations and stuff. But which is for 135,000, probably that's the average for county administrators in Oregon.
Thank you. All right, here's a general question. Oh, we still got somebody going. Okay.
You know, the compensation for a county or city administrator or manager does vary depending on the area that you're in, and the size of the city or county, and also the responsibilities of that city or county, how many departments, how many services you can provide. From a city manager's perspective, there's varying ranges of salaries, and some of the smaller cities, you're looking around $55,000 a year on up from there. I'm the manager of Grants Pass. My salary is $124,000. I have a population of 35,000 people. We're the 15th largest city in Oregon, and we have 225 employees, full service city.
Thank you. This is a question that I think it's a little bit off point, but it is in response to one of Commissioner Itson's comments earlier. It says, Curry County is working well, bankruptcy is not a problem. So I think they just want more focus on that.
Curry County is working well. It's very efficient. It's had to be efficient to survive through these challenging times that we have. Our timber revenues have gone from $6 million a year down to almost nothing. Our SRS money we got this year was $1 million, but it's far below anything we got in the past. So it's a drop in the bucket, so to speak, for what we've lost. And it looks like there's no legislation in the hopper for the future. Counties in Oregon cannot go bankrupt. There's no provision for bankruptcy in Oregon. So you live within your budget. And so if we're unsuccessful in raising more revenue by a combination of means, what our citizens will receive will be quite different from what we have today.
Just to add a little, we had 2 legislative task force and actually been 2 legislative committees over the last 4 years looking at the timber-dependent counties, because it's not just Curry County. Josephine is just about in bad a shape, or not worse. They got 2 road deputies, I believe, and the sheriff. Crime is going crazy. And we understand, because of what the future is coming, we're going to have 4 or 5 other counties, at least maybe 6 or 7, in the next 2-3 years that are going to be in the same condition of Curry County. Now, we tried to find some solutions. That task force did. They met. They brought in every solution that you can think of. Nobody could find a way to fund those counties adequately for the very basic services that they felt that they needed. The form of government, whether it was a general law county or a charter county, that didn't have a bearing on it, because they're all experiencing the same thing.
At Southwestern Oregon, we just had a great panel discussion about what county administrators do and how that would work in Curry County. We had representatives here from a variety of places, from Grants Pass and Benton County and Delaware County. We had all of them talk about how important it is for the council manager, in this case the commission administrator form of government, to be considered in Curry County, because it's a way of governing partnership between policy and administration that will serve our community well.
Hi, my name is Kelly McLean. I currently serve on the Brookings City Council. I'm also part of this charter group, the Citizens Charter Group, to put this charter on the ballot. I strongly believe in this effort. It's something that I think this is a big deal, and I think this is a chance for Curry County to make some important changes to help us get on the right track. I think it's important to know that this is the type of government that our cities currently use, and our commissions, our port commissions, our school districts, our library districts, in fact, every form of government within Curry County currently uses this system except our county commissioners. This is a chance to get a professional, to hire a professional to help us get on track, to become the most efficient county we can, and to minimize the amount of tax dollars that we need in order to run our county efficiently. I think you don't have to look any farther. If you look in the private sector, this is how private sectors run their businesses. They have a board of directors who hire a CEO, and that CEO is in charge of running the company, and the board of directors is in charge of setting the goals. And that's what we want. We want our citizens to set the goals where we want to go, what we want to achieve, and we want a professional who's trained in how to do this to actually carry out those goals. And it's important that he has those departments, that he runs those departments, and can work with those department heads to look for efficiencies and synergies so that we can become the most efficient county we can. I think this ballot measure is one of the most important measures I've seen on a ballot in my life, in my community. And I hope everybody gets out there and definitely votes on this and educates themselves on how this works and what the benefits are.